Chefs, last time you were here, one of your opponents departed the competition. Which chef is next? That depends, of course, on what you did with cucumbers, buttermilk, pork loin, and jackfruit. Chef Martin, you're up first.
I did a sautéed pork loin with cucumber, buttermilk raita, and sweet and sour jackfruit.
Now, when you say cucumber raita, that, of course, makes you think of Indian cooking. Is there any other sort of Indian element involved here, or just...?
There is some red mustard seeds involved. There's ginger involved.
I think the pork is just very simple, but juicy.
I really like the sweet and sour jackfruit on top, but it's surprising you have red peppers again.
Okay, I like to use red peppers. I think it elevates certain dishes to another level.
When you're eating multiple courses, let's say we had your appetizer of the oyster with that kind of nuanced red pepper, which worked very well, but now we get red pepper in the second course. Everything becomes very similar at that point.
We go now to Chef Deborah.
I prepared today a pork loin with a pickled cucumber salsa on top.
Could you explain to me the red onion, and is that a puree of jackfruit on the bottom?
I wouldn't call it a puree because it's not. It's more like a compote of flavors.
I'll tell you what I would call it. Unsightly. It really looks horrible.
Okay.
The flavor's fine. I'm not trying to be hurtful. I just think it doesn't look good on the plate at all.
Okay.
I imagine that you intended with the puree on the bottom for us to kind of gather it with each bite, but my pork is really not cut very well. What I find is I end up dragging most of my pork with me. Kind of makes a mess of everything.
Do you eat pork often? Do you like pork?
I don't. I grew up Jewish. There was never pork in my house. It's something that's a little bit out of my comfort zone.
Because it's very moist. And I really appreciate, the way that you were able to make a pickle. You really transformed an ingredient.
Thank you.
And now, Chef Arvin.
My dish is a pan-roasted loin of pork with pickled cucumbers and a jackfruit and buttermilk sauce. I must say that I don't eat pork myself, but I learned how to use the ingredient through my years of cooking.
For a man who's never eaten pork, you really cooked it very well.
Thank you.
I mean, for me, I'm a little disappointed that my pork is not caramelized. And when you have a dish like this, I'm looking for deep, rich flavors, and I would really like to see that.
The potatoes are overcooked in that fabulous way, like they've been baking in the oven. But this oil that I find on the edge of the dish, what is that from?
That's just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil I drizzle over it.
I don't find that appealing. There's apple and there's jackfruit. I mean, I don't think we need the fruitiness of olive oil on top of all that.
Thank you, chefs. The judges will need a few minutes.
I look back at what I've done and I'm like, maybe I took too much of a risk. It's like expecting the worst, hoping the best.
Right now, I think it's pretty even,
I think the most nerve-wracking part is waiting to see whose dish is under there.
Deborah's pork was, I was actually pretty shocked at how moist you said it was.
I found mine to be succulent. It had a lot of great texture to it.
Deborah really let the meat rest, and I think that it really benefited from that. The problem with Deborah's dish lies in her use of the jackfruit. I think to puree the jackfruit with onions and put it underneath and then put more jackfruit on top was just overkill.
I thought Arvin had the moistest pork out of the three.
And coming from somebody who doesn't eat pork, that shows an even deeper display of skill.
I mean, the apples were an interesting component that really tied into that jackfruit sauce.
For me, it felt like there was a fresh element that was missing. I thought it had no life visually. Just thought Arvin's dish was drab.
It was a very brown plate.
Martin's dish had a lot of character, had mustard seeds, and I thought he used that cucumber raita with the yogurt to sort of mellow out all those spices.
Well, in Martin's dish, the red pepper played a small role with many other vegetables in that.
Then why have it? If it plays such a small role and you had it in your appetizer, why have it?
It's hard to have a pepper play a small role. You know what I mean? It's always an assertive flavor.
I have to say, though, I like on Martin's dish that he just lightly sauteed the cucumbers and mixed them into the vegetables. The other two pickled them, and I think that was really the more obvious thing to do.
Okay, so from 3 chefs, you have to pick the one who has not earned a spot in the final round. Can you do that?
Yes.
I think we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
I'm feeling pumped and excited, but I'm also, you know, a little nervous. Martin has taught me a lot, and it's very humbling to be competing against him. But right now, we're on equal ground.
Deborah got a little more criticism, but it's a tough call. I think we're all pretty even.
Two chefs get to stay. One must go. If your dish is uncovered, you will not move on to the 3rd and final round. So, whose dish is on the chopping block? Chef Deborah, you have been chopped.
Deborah, I don't think any of us questioned your creativity. That was really something that made you fun to have as a competitor. The problem here, I think, is the puree of jackfruit was an unappealing element. And when you put the jackfruit on top as well, it really kind of created overkill for the flavor profile of the dish, and we really felt we had to chop you.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I just want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. I'm bummed. Of course, I would want to win it, but I'm happy that Martin's still in it, and I really want him to win.
Chef Martin, Chef Arvin, you made it all the way to the dessert round. But are you ready for the final challenge?
I'm facing a very tough competitor. My goal is to play it safe with the dessert round.
I haven't played it safe the 2 courses prior, and I don't intend on starting now. Beating Martin would give me great satisfaction.
Please open your baskets. And we have sugar cookie dough, bittersweet chocolate, figs, and yellow miso paste. 30 minutes on the clock, and time starts now.
I see the first 3 ingredients and I think that's fantastic. Then I see the yellow miso paste and I think like, oh my God, so intense. I totally freak out. And then all of a sudden it popped up in my head. I decided to take the cookie dough, mix it with the miso paste. And I was like, wow, this actually works together, you know? Now I'm going to do a very thin, crunchy cookie. I'm going to do roasted figs with red wine glaze. For the chocolate, I know I'm going to make a mousse. This is the final round. We make it that far, you want to win this.
Every catering chef has worked with some form of sugar cookie dough. Instead of doing, you know, a cookie, I figured to take it to the next level and build Napoleon. Kind of a good feeling for the Napoleon because it has that creamy texture. And then I put some citrus in it with vanilla and sugar. And it was like perfect.
Judges, we've all had lots of miso soup, but what exactly is miso?
It's a fermented soybean.
And you say yellow miso, it speaks to the intensity level. The darker it gets in color, the more intense it gets.
With the miso and cookie dough, I spread it out thinly and make a tui out of it. My goal is to have the crunch effect, but not to have big cookie.
Pour some sugar, cut the figs in half, and put them on the stove to caramelize. I don't see the chocolate fitting in the dish, so I'm just melting it because I know I have to use it.
They're really evenly matched. I mean, they have different strengths. Either one of them could take it. It's anyone's game.